Oh yeah, the gyroscopic thing really, yeah. All right, everybody, we're here with Terell Anderson at the Medicare for All rally. Terell is running for Congress in the 2nd Congressional District here in Alabama. Terell, can you just tell us real quick what Medicare for All means to you and why we're here today?
Well, we're here today standing in solidarity with many across the country who are either marching or having a rally to stand in solidarity or standing in solidarity for pushing for a Medicare for All system here in America. Most developed countries, well, majority of the developed countries across the world has single-payer healthcare system, which is basically what Medicare for All is. And I think it's important as America, as the most wealthiest country in the world, also provide healthcare for its citizens. And it's not such a foreign idea. If every developed country in the world can provide its citizens with health care, then why shouldn't we? And for me, Medicare for All would be a burden, especially me as a black man, or especially for people in the black community as well. Not just the black community, all communities. But medical debt is literally, it's like 63% of Americans go into, 63% of Americans deplete their savings paying for medical bills or going into medical debt. And 42% of Americans have to get a second job just to pay off their medical debt. And the way that private health insurance companies are taking advantage of sick and dying people, and the way that the pharmaceuticals companies are taking advantage of sick and dying people is just, is disgusting, honestly. Like the story of the guy who rationed his insulin because he couldn't afford it. Insulin was $1,300 a month. He wasn't making enough working his job to pay for that. After he got kicked off his mother's health insurance plan, he couldn't afford to pay for another health insurance plan. He also couldn't afford to pay $1,300 for insulin. So he rationed his insulin and ended up dying the next month because he couldn't afford it. And that to me says that America doesn't care about its citizens, because if you have a drug that somebody needs in order to live, like literally live, to breathe, to stay alive, why wouldn't you make that available for free? Because without the drug, they die. And that's basically America telling people, well, if you can't pay us for the drug, you're gonna die. And for me, Medicare for All is a solution to that. It was a fly.
Yeah.
Well, a bee.
A wasp or something.
Medicare for All is the solution to that problem. Under Medicare for All, like today in this country, you have to have a job to have health insurance, and if you don't have a job, you don't have health insurance, you end up going to the hospital or see a doctor, you're going to end up paying a heavier price than people with insurance. Even people with insurance still have a hard time paying their insurance. And even with this insurance, it doesn't cover everything, and they still end up having to come out of pocket.
Exactly.
And that's ridiculous. And if every other country can provide Medicare for their citizens, I mean, it lifts the burdens off of families as well. Because families are already having enough time with low wages and not being able to afford rent or afford paying all the bills or afford to put food on the table. There's already enough problems, and add medical debt on top of that. I mean, healthcare is a human right. Healthcare is not something that should be for profit. When people need healthcare in order to stay healthy, the more healthy citizens in this country, the further America can grow. Because if you have people keep getting sick and dying, it just slows down success, and it slows down those people's lives. A healthier America and a healthier citizen in America leads to healthier prosperity for America. Exactly. And that's what I feel like Medicare for All offers.
I agree 100%. I think that the majority of our listeners are definitely for Medicare for All. Turning to the campaign, so what made you decide to want to run for Congress?
Well, what made me decide to want to run for Congress is, over the years, investing my time into politics, investing my time into voting and, learning about the politicians who are running to represent me and or the rest of us in society, or the rest of my community, the rest of my city, everywhere, I feel like nobody's doing a good enough job. I mean, everything with politicians these days are incremental. Like incremental changes, or we can't do this yet, or we can't, but it's a necessity for things that people need now. And you telling us we can't do it, but there are people dying, there are people losing their homes, there are people starving, and you telling us that we can't do anything about it right now. These are human rights issues. And for me, I chose to run for Congress because I started to see a pattern in leadership in Congress. People take from billionaires,
Mm-hmm.
they take from corporate donors, then govern for those people. When it's people who elected them to office and chose to put them in that office because they thought that they was going to do something to help their lives, because the people of America are struggling. The people of America are having a very, very, very hard time. And I'm one of those people myself. And I chose to run for Congress because I feel like, well, for one, they say, if you don't see the change that you want to see, then you do something about it. And that's the reason why I chose to run for Congress, because for too long I haven't been seeing anybody champion any human rights policies or policies that are going to affect the life of everyday people. And I just couldn't sit this out, because it's like I've watched over the years and I'm like, is anybody going to do it? Is anybody going to do it? So I decided, like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do it.
No, yeah.
I'm going to do it. So
Be the change you want to be in the world.
exactly. It's like that's one reason I ran. And I also want to go to Congress to show people that you can have people in Congress that cares about your communities, that care about your families, that cares about your health, that cares about you being able to keep up with rising costs of inflation, to keep up with rising prices of rent and everything in this country. Too many people in Congress now are siding with billionaires and corporate CEOs, and I don't want to do that. I want to be a person that goes in there. I don't care. Like, for me, if I was to win this race to go to Congress, I think I will have my party would be upset with me, because for me, if I go in there and they say we do this, we do that, I don't care what you say we should do. I'm going to listen to my constituents, because they put me here. You didn't put me here. They put me here. They asked me to come to Congress to do something for them. So that is the reason. That's one reason. Another reason I'm running, because I know myself, and I know that if it comes down to it, I'm going to fight, and I don't care how many people don't like me in the room. If I'm fighting for the people, I'm going to fight for the people.
Yeah. Now, I guess the big question is that, do you think that a Democrat could win in the second congressional district? Because you're like on the cusp of like millennial Gen Z. Like we're young, so it's just like, do you think that with the progressive values and with the progressive issues that you push, that can cross party lines? Because poor is poor. Do you think that if you're able to get your message out, do you think that you could beat Barry Moore as the incumbent? Do you think that you could pull it off?
I think I can. I think it's just more so about informing people of policies, informing people of, getting people to wake up and pay attention, informing people of the corruption, informing people of policies that's going to help them. And in this district, there's a lot of us. It's a whole lot of millennials, Generation Zs in this district, but a lot of this generation don't vote. It's the boomers and the Generation X that show up to vote a lot. So for me, one thing about this campaign is I want to reach the younger audience. I want to show them that this politics and everything is important to their life, because it affects something in their everyday life. College students, politics affects colleges, the tuitions, people who have sicknesses, even young people who have sicknesses, politics affects that. I mean, we have to get people to understand that, one thing, poverty is a policy choice. Not being able to afford health insurance is a policy choice. not being able to afford to pay off your college tuition, that's a policy choice. This is what people need to understand, that most of these things that affect your lives, the bad, are policy choices. And if you elect people to Congress to who are going to stand on your side and who've been through these same things to Congress to fight for you, then the better odds you have. But yeah.
No, I feel you, 100%. It's hot as shit, as we can tell. Climate change is affecting us. It's probably like 110 degrees with the heat index right now. So I don't want us to pass out for heat stroke. But the last, probably the most important thing is, where can people find you to donate to you, to spread the word, social media, any sort of, because I know you're not taking contributions from big super PACs and PACs and corporations. So you gotta have that grassroots movement, small donations. So most importantly, where can people find you to donate and find you online?
They can visit my website at terrellforchange.com. That's TERELL, the number 4, change.com. On that site, there's a donate button, and also there are links to my social media, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram on the website as well.
Awesome. Now I know you got one bigger person supporting you. What was her name? She ran for
Marianne Williamson.
Yeah, Marianne Williamson.
She ran for president in 2020.
Has anyone else reached out to you? We need to really get these people that are bigger names to reach out to you in the progressive movement.
So far, no one else has reached out. But, I feel like, I'm hoping that other progressive PACs, or not corporate PACs, but, grassroots, other progressive organizations or progressive politicians or somebody reach out. I feel like,
like We the People and DSA and Bernie's folks and Nina Turner and all them, yeah.
Yes. I feel like it may help a little bit. For me, I feel like we have to build a grassroots organization in Alabama. We have to build a progressive movement in Alabama. I feel like when Bernie ran, a lot of his message fell on deaf ears here in Alabama. And people only paid attention to the candidate like Joe Biden or whoever they was talking about the most. And I caught up on the message, but I feel like we here in Alabama, we have to organize and actually talk to people about these policies, because I feel like people here in Alabama miss the message of the progressive movement, because I hear many people every day complain about all of these things that progressives are trying to fix, but it's like, haven't you heard about this? And most people haven't. It's like, these are solutions.
Exactly. And I think what people really need to realize, and we've heard this from people that have run these campaigns before in this district, is they'll look at people like, well, if AOC won, then why can't you win? It's like, people have to realize that there's 14 counties that make up the 2nd district. 15 counties, my bad. There's an extra one in there. The thing is that you can't just go to apartment complex because sometimes if you go to these houses, the next neighbor's like a mile away. So you need a lot of help, and you need money, and you need support. So I really hope the people that see this on YouTube, that listen to it on the podcast, really go and help and donate and support you, because the major thing the podcast is trying to do, and what we want to do with the message, I know you do too, is to get the word out that there's people in Alabama that want this progressive change. We're not all how they portray us on the History Channel. It's like, we have a black man here running for the 2nd Congressional District in Alabama, young, intelligent, progressive black man. And
black has held this seat in at least, I want to say 170 or something years.
So it's like Reconstruction.
Yeah.
So I'm supporting you. I really hope our listeners donate, and the people that are in this district vote. All power to you, man. Medicare for all. Thank you, Terell, for doing this.
Thank you for having me on.
No problem, man. Anytime.